It was a calm afternoon along the edge of Highway 74, the kind of roadside stop where travelers paused for a fast coffee before getting back on the road. Inside the small wooden diner, most people hardly noticed the tall, quiet man seated alone near the corner window. Steven Seagal wore a plain black jacket, dark sunglasses and a relaxed expression. He had just finished a late lunch and was preparing to leave and continue his drive. As Seagal pushed open the glass door, the sudden roar of engines shattered the calm. 3 large motorcycles screeched to a stop in front of the diner. Their riders, loud, tattooed and clearly looking for trouble, jumped off and walked toward the entrance with swagger. The first biker pulled off his helmet, slammed it onto the outside table, and laughed loudly as he saw Seagal stepping down. "Hey old man," he shouted, deliberately blocking Seagal's path. The other 2 smirked, already expecting entertainment. To them, Seagal looked like just another quiet traveler, someone easy to intimidate. Seagal didn't respond. He simply nodded politely and tried to walk around them. But the lead biker stepped forward and bumped his shoulder into Seagal's chest. "Oh my bad," he said with fake apology, lifting his eyebrows. The other bikers laughed. Inside the diner, people watched through the window, sensing tension. One man whispered, "Why are they bothering him? He hasn't done anything." But the bikers were not interested in fairness. They wanted to show power. Seagal took a slow breath and said quietly, "Watch your step." That single sentence made the bikers laugh even louder. One of them clapped mockingly and said, "Look at this guy. Thinks he's tough." They had no idea who they were dealing with. The tension outside the diner grew heavier. A few people pulled out their phones, preparing to record. The wind felt still. The moment hung in uneasy silence, as if the world was waiting for something to break. Then one biker stepped forward, leaned close to Seagal's face and grinned. What happened next would shock everyone watching. The biker who moved in was thick-necked, chains hanging from his vest. He hovered inches from Seagal's face, smirking. His breath smelled of cheap beer and his ego was just as strong. "What's wrong, Grandpa?" he mocked. "Cat got your tongue?" Seagal didn't move. He didn't blink. He didn't shift his stance. He simply looked back with calm, steady eyes that had seen real danger and real violence, and did not respond to childish threats. The bikers mistook his silence for weakness. Well, one said as he stepped closer. "Looks like we found a soft one. Long hair, sunglasses. What's he trying to be? Some kind of movie star?" Another joked. They burst into laughter. Seagal quietly adjusted his sunglasses. The second biker poked a finger into Seagal's chest, lightly at first, then harder. "Hey, I'm talking to you." Inside the diner, gasps filled the room. The cook stopped at the grill. A mother covered her young son's eyes. Someone whispered, "Why won't they leave him alone?" But the bikers wanted a reaction. Any reaction they could brag about later. Seagal took another slow breath and said in his deep, steady voice, "Fellas, you get one warning. Move aside." The bikers paused for a split second, surprised by his tone. It wasn't loud or angry. It was certain. Then they laughed again. "The old man's got courage," one joked. The leader leaned closer. "Or maybe he thinks he's some ninja." Another stroked his beard sarcastically. "Maybe one of those YouTube karate grandpas." The group laughed loudly. More phones were raised. More eyes turned. The air grew thick with nervous curiosity. The third biker, thin with a long tattoo up his neck, walked slowly in a circle around Seagal like a hunter studying prey. "He's not reacting," he muttered. "Either scared or clueless." "No," the leader said confidently. "He's scared." He flicked Seagal's shoulder lightly. Seagal didn't move. The flick became a shove. Still nothing. The bikers grinned, thinking they had won. Inside the diner, a man whispered, "They're making a big mistake. You don't mess with someone that calm." Seagal slowly exhaled. He wasn't angry. He didn't want to fight. Not unless the line was crossed. But with every shove, every insult, the bikers were marching closer to that line. The leader cracked his knuckles. "Let's see what happens when we really test him." The crowd shifted nervously. Someone outside murmured, "This won't end well." The thick-necked biker raised his hand and everything seemed to freeze. These next moments would later be recorded from multiple angles, shared online, and viewed millions of times. But before the biker ever hit the ground, the world witnessed the instant he made the worst mistake of his life. The air felt heavy as if the world was holding its breath. Steven Seagal stood completely still, hands loose at his sides, calm and controlled. The bikers, however, were restless. The leader believed he had full control. He cracked his knuckles loudly and grinned. "Let's wake the old man up." His friends laughed. The crowd did not. One woman whispered, "Why isn't he leaving?" A man replied quietly, "Because he doesn't have to." The lanky biker moved behind Seagal, pretending to throw fake punches in the air. "Look, I'm Bruce Lee," he shouted, swinging wildly. People shook their heads. Inside the diner, customers pressed closer to the windows. A truck driver muttered, "These idiots think they're scaring him." The thick-necked biker shoved Seagal harder this time. "You listening?" he barked. Seagal slowly turned his head, not with anger but with calm disappointment. That brief look caused the biker's grin to falter for just a moment. It revealed something he didn't want to admit. Seagal was not afraid. Instead of backing away, the biker stepped closer, nose to nose. "You think you're tough?" he snapped. "Say something." Seagal stayed silent. The biker grew more irritated. Someone in the crowd whispered, "This is going to end badly." The biker finally snapped. "Time to teach you respect." He raised his hand slowly, making sure everyone could see. Fingers spread wide, arm pulled back. His friends leaned in, smiling. Then, smack. The sound echoed across the parking lot like a gunshot. His palm struck Seagal's cheek in a sharp, loud slap. People gasped. Birds flew from a nearby tree. A soda cup dropped to the ground. Someone dropped their fries. The biker froze, stunned by what he had just done. He looked at his friends, then back at Seagal, expecting him to fall, shout, or fight back. But Seagal didn't move. He slowly turned his head back toward the biker. His sunglasses reflected the man's shocked face like a mirror from an action film. For the first time, fear appeared in the biker's eyes. Inside the diner, a teenager whispered. He didn't even react. Outside, phone stayed raised. The lanky biker stepped back slightly. "Maybe we should," but it was too late. Seagal finally spoke one sentence in a quiet, steady voice. "You just made a big mistake." The biker's confidence vanished. "What?" he stammered. Seagal did not repeat himself. Before anyone could blink, Seagal shifted his weight with smooth control. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just precise. His posture carried a silent message. The outcome was already decided. The biker stepped back nervously, pointing a shaky finger. "Don't try anything." But he never finished the threat. The moment froze again. Someone whispered, "Here it comes." Another replied, "Watch carefully." The biker had no idea that one careless slap had awakened something he could not control. 1 second later, he would be on the pavement. For a brief moment, the world stood perfectly still. The thick-necked biker's raised hand trembled slightly, as if his body itself questioned what he had done. His friends watched in confusion. They expected shouting or chaos. But Seagal did none of that. He lowered his chin and exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of discipline in one controlled breath. His sunglasses caught the light. The parking lot fell silent except for the hum of traffic in the distance. A father at the window whispered, "Look at his stance. This just got real." Then it happened, fast, silent, precise. The slap had taken a full second to land. Seagal's response took less than half a second. With one smooth motion, he caught the biker's wrist, not with anger, but with the casual control of catching an apple sliding off a table. The biker's eyes widened. He tried to pull free, but it was already too late. Seagal's grip tightened. His body shifted. His feet slid just inches across the pavement, like a dancer stepping into position. Then came the sharp crack. The biker's wrist twisted inward at an angle that seemed unnatural. His knees buckled instantly. A sharp cry escaped him as his body dropped, hitting the ground like a sack of concrete. Dust burst around him. His head struck the pavement. Phones filming the moment shook as people gasped. But Seagal was not finished. The second biker, the tall one with the long neck tattoo, rushed forward to help his friend, shouting, "Hey, let him go." Seagal didn't even look at him. With one smooth turn, he guided the falling first biker directly toward the oncoming second biker. Their bodies collided exactly as Seagal had planned, like pieces in a controlled sequence. The lanky biker stumbled forward, losing balance. Seagal's elbow met his chest with perfect accuracy. It was only a light touch, barely any force, yet the biker was sent flying backward as if launched from a catapult. He hit the pavement so hard that gravel scattered across the parking lot. "What was that?" a teenager shouted, his phone shaking. The third biker, the largest of the three, built like a bulldozer, stepped back in shock. His eyes moved between his two fallen friends. "You can't do that," he yelled, pointing at Seagal, his voice trembling with panic. Seagal raised one eyebrow. He wasn't hostile or threatening, just uninterested. The big biker charged forward like a bull. People screamed. Chairs inside the diner tipped over as customers rushed toward the windows. The biker lowered his shoulder, expecting to slam Seagal to the ground with the full force of his heavy frame. Seagal didn't move until the final moment. Then, in a flash, he sidestepped with a motion so smooth it looked unreal. The biker rushed past him without control. Seagal extended his arm just enough to tap the biker's back, redirecting his momentum. The biker stumbled, slipped, and crashed face first into the diner's wooden pillar. The pillar shook. The biker collapsed. The crowd lost control. "What did I just see?" someone yelled. "That's impossible," another whispered. Seagal remained calm, lowering his hands as if setting invisible items back on a shelf. His breathing never changed. It looked as if he hadn't moved at all. Inside the diner, the cook muttered, "That's the cleanest takedown I've ever seen." Meanwhile, the first biker, the one who delivered the slap, tried to crawl away while clutching his twisted wrist, groaning in pain. Seagal stood over him, not threatening, simply watching. He did not need to speak. The silence was enough. The biker wheezed, "Who are you?" Someone in the crowd answered for him. "That's Steven Seagal." The biker's jaw dropped. The color drained from his face. His friends stopped struggling. They all stared up at the man they had mocked, slapped, and tried to intimidate. Fear rushed through them like cold water down their backs. A bystander whispered, "I swear he dropped all three of them in 1 second." Another replied, "No less." Phones continued to record from every angle, capturing every movement and every second of the biker's downfall. Steven Seagal simply stepped back, his hands behind his back, posture relaxed, as if the entire incident had been nothing more than brushing dust off his jacket. But this was far from over. With police on the way, crowds growing, and the bikers realizing the true weight of their mistake, the real lesson was still ahead. Sirens echoed from a distance, faint at first, then louder, cutting through the tense air. Red and blue lights flashed across nearby car windows as a police cruiser pulled into the diner parking lot, tires crunching over scattered gravel. The crowd parted quickly. 3 officers stepped out. One young, one built like a linebacker, and the last an older sergeant whose eyes scanned the scene with practiced skill. Even he paused when he saw who stood calmly at the center. "Is that Steven Seagal?" he said quietly. Before he could speak again, the officer beside him said, "Yes, sir, that's him." The injured bikers, spread across the ground like fallen chess pieces, suddenly found hope in the presence of police. The biggest biker, still holding his bruised face from the pillar, pointed shakily at Seagal. "Officer, arrest him. He attacked us." The crowd reacted instantly. "He's lying. They hit him first. I recorded everything." Phones rose into the air. The sergeant raised his hand. "Everyone calm down. We will sort this out." Calm was impossible. The first biker, the one who slapped Seagal, crawled forward, shaking with anger and shame. "You're dead, old man," he shouted, pointing a trembling finger. "I know my rights." Seagal stared at him with the calm eyes of someone fully unbothered by ignorance. His posture stayed relaxed yet commanding. The sergeant approached him with respect. "Mr. Seagal, are you all right? Do you need medical attention?" "I'm fine," Seagal replied quietly. "They're lucky they are too." The bikers growled, but none stood up. The lanky biker tried once more. "He jumped us. We were just talking." "That's assault." Before the sergeant could respond, a teenager shouted from the crowd, "That's not true. You slapped him first." The biker snapped back, "Shut up." The teen answered, "Make me." The sergeant stepped between them. "Enough." One officer addressed the crowd. "Anyone who saw the beginning, please step forward." More than a dozen people did. The biker's confidence vanished. The sergeant reviewed the first phone video. It clearly showed the bikers surrounding Seagal, mocking him, and the slap landing across his face. The sergeant looked up slowly. "You 3 assaulted him," he said calmly. "And you tried to start a fight." "But he hurt us," the big biker protested. The sergeant folded his arms. "You attacked a trained martial artist. What did you expect?" Laughter spread through the crowd. The bikers burned with embarrassment. The sergeant turned to Seagal. "Mr. Seagal, do you want to press charges?" The entire crowd went silent. Fear filled the bikers' faces. One word could change everything. But Seagal let out a slow breath. He was not angry. He was not seeking revenge. He sounded disappointed. "I'm not here to destroy anyone's life," he said calmly. "They acted foolishly. Prison doesn't solve ignorance." Seagal lowered himself slightly and looked directly at the biker who slapped him. "You're angry at the world," he said quietly. "But that does not give you the right to attack strangers." One day you'll choose the wrong person and you won't get back up. The biker swallowed, unable to answer. And one more thing, Seagal continued. Strength is not about hurting others. Real strength is self-control. The words landed harder than any strike. The sergeant nodded with respect. A wise decision, Mr. Seagal. Seagal added, have them apologize to everyone here. Not to me. To the people they frightened, disrespected, and put at risk. The crowd murmured with approval. The bikers looked around as every eye focused on them. One by one they stood. The first biker spoke with shaking hands. I'm sorry. The lanky one followed. Then the big one. At first, their voices could barely be heard until the sergeant raised his voice. Louder. We're sorry, they shouted. The crowd reacted with cheers and Seagal only nodded, satisfied. As the bikers turned to leave, the sergeant added one final warning. You three are fined for disorderly conduct. If you ever try this again, you will not be treated this lightly. The bikers lowered their heads. Seagal turned to go, but a young girl gently pulled at his sleeve. Mr. Seagal, how did you move so fast? He smiled calmly. Years of practice and a calm mind. The crowd applauded not because of the fight but because of the lesson. As Seagal walked toward his car, what had happened was already spreading online. By the time he reached the driver's seat, the parking lot was buzzing with noise. People talked over one another, replaying their videos and showing slow-motion clips of the moment Seagal moved like a shadow and dropped all three bikers in under a second. But the real impact happened online. Less than 5 minutes after Seagal drove away, the first video appeared on TikTok. Bikers slapped Steven Seagal and regret it instantly. Within 20 minutes, it passed 200,000 views. Within an hour it crossed 3 million. Comments flooded in. He moved like a ninja. Steven Seagal still has it. They picked the worst possible target. I've replayed that takedown 20 times. Across social platforms, people stitched the video and analyzed Seagal's movement frame by frame. Martial artists studied it. Self-defense instructors praised it. Reaction channels filled with shock. Within 2 hours, major pages reposted the clip with bold captions. Respect the legends. Never judge a calm man. This is why you never provoke the wrong person. Meanwhile, the three bikers, embarrassed, bruised, and shaken, had no idea how large the story had become. They left the diner ashamed but relieved they were not arrested. They believed they could disappear. They believed it would fade. They were wrong. By late afternoon, their faces were everywhere. Clips zoomed in on the slap. Clips focused on Seagal's calm response. Clips captured the exact second the bikers hit the ground like heavy weights. Memes spread rapidly. Level 1 thugs versus Level 99 boss. He slapped Seagal. Rest in peace to his pride. This is instant karma. The most viral post came from a woman who recorded the clearest angle. They thought he was just an old man. They forgot he was Steven Seagal. It passed 25 million views in one night. The next morning, things grew worse for the bikers. Their biker club had also seen the video. Inside a small rundown garage at the edge of town, the three bikers sat on a worn sofa, staring at a laptop replaying the clip again and again. Each replay felt worse than their injuries. Look at you, the club leader growled, pointing at the screen. You slapped a celebrity. Picked a fight with a legend. Got dropped in front of the entire internet. We didn't know it was him, the tall biker muttered. You didn't know, the leader repeated coldly. But the whole world does now. Our club looks foolish because of you. The biker who slapped Seagal felt sick. His face was now a global meme. His name spread everywhere. His humiliation became entertainment. Another member laughed from across the room. Folded in less than a second. Shut up, the biker whispered. Make me, the member replied. Enough, the leader snapped. The garage fell silent. You three will repair this, the leader said firmly. You will make a public apology. You will clean up the damage. Right now everyone thinks we are fools and we do not accept fools. Public apology meant public humiliation again, but there was no other option. Far away, Steven Seagal sat peacefully at home drinking tea, unaware of most of the chaos online. His assistant entered with a phone in hand. Steven, you're trending again. This time worldwide, the assistant added. Seagal raised an eyebrow. People are calling you a hero. Martial arts schools are using the video for training. Even the police department shared a thank you message for how calmly you handled it. Seagal nodded slowly. I didn't want attention. I know, the assistant said. But the world needed the reminder. Calm is strength. That evening, while Seagal stayed disconnected from the attention, The bikers faced the worst moment yet. A news van parked outside their clubhouse. Reporters gathered. People began live streaming. The leader pushed the trio forward. "Fix it," he whispered. The bikers stepped up to the microphones. Their faces were pale. Their hands shook under flashing cameras. "We want to apologize," the first biker said, his voice unsteady. "To Steven Seagal and to everyone who saw the video. What we did was wrong, disrespectful, and dangerous," the tall biker continued. "We should never have judged or provoked anyone. What happened was our fault, and we are lucky he did not hurt us worse." The third biker sighed. "We embarrassed our club and ourselves. We are sorry." The public response was mixed. Some accepted it. Some mocked it. Others turned the apology into new memes. But the message spread everywhere. Never judge by appearance. Never treat anyone with disrespect. Never underestimate a calm person. That night, Steven Seagal finally watched the viral clip himself. He saw the slap. He saw his movement shaped by decades of training. He saw the bikers fall. He did not smile. He did not boast. "They learned their lesson," he said quietly. But the story was not finished. By the next sunrise, the internet was louder than ever. The incident dominated every platform worldwide. In Brazil, people recreated the moment. In the Philippines, fans posted reaction videos. In Japan, martial arts instructors broke down each movement in detail. Across Europe, news outlets titled their coverage with phrases like, "the calm master," and "the slap heard around the world." Celebrities reacted. One actor wrote, "Respect to Steven Seagal. Calm, controlled, disciplined. That's real strength." Athletes replayed the takedown in slow motion. Comedians joked about the bikers' expressions. Motivational pages repeated Seagal's words. Real strength is self-control. Within 24 hours, the moment became a global lesson. While Seagal remained humble and unaffected, the bikers faced lasting consequences. Their faces became memes. Their apology was mocked. Their club suspended them indefinitely. Everywhere they went, people recorded them. They could not escape the single second that now defined them. They met again at the same diner where the conflict began. Now it was silent. No laughter. No confidence. Only three men staring into half-finished cups of coffee. "I can't live like this," the first biker said quietly. "I can't step outside without someone yelling for me to slap Seagal again." "We did this to ourselves," the tall one said. The third whispered, "I wish we could truly fix it." At that moment, the diner door opened. The room fell quiet. Steven Seagal walked in alone. No cameras. No crew. No security. Just calm and steady. The bikers froze. Seagal sat calmly at their table. "We already apologized," one of them said nervously. "I saw," Seagal replied. "But the internet is destroying us. We said sorry. What else do people want?" Seagal took a slow sip of tea. "They want to see change," he answered quietly. "Not just words." He leaned forward. "You acted with aggression. You judged strangers. You relied on fear to feel powerful. But power without wisdom leads to chaos." The room felt still. "You don't become a man by intimidating others," Seagal continued. "You become one by protecting the weak, respecting the kind, and controlling your anger." The bikers lowered their heads. "What do we do now?" one asked. Seagal tapped the table lightly. "Serve your community. Help instead of harm." "You think that fixes everything?" "No," Seagal said. "But it will fix you. And that is where it begins." For the first time, they did not feel attacked. They felt guided. Before leaving, Seagal added, "The world may not forgive quickly. But if you stay consistent, they will eventually see who you truly are." He nodded and walked out. The bikers sat in silence. But something new had started to grow. Respect. Humility. And the first sign of change. Over the next few weeks, the three bikers followed his advice. They volunteered at shelters, helped at community centers, cleaned graffiti, repaired fences, delivered food to elderly neighbors. At first, people filmed them with doubt. But slowly the tone changed. Maybe they are trying. At least they are doing something right. Everyone deserves a second chance. As their efforts continued, the hate faded. Memes turned into support. Mockery shifted into forgiveness. Steven Seagal stayed out of the spotlight. He declined interviews. He refused talk shows. He did not want attention. To him, the only true victory was change. One evening, he posted a single message. "Strength is not in the hand that strikes, but in the heart that remains calm." It spread instantly. Not because of hype. Not because of celebrity. But because it was true. And the world remembered the lesson every time the video was replayed. A slap, a second, a fall, a change, and above all, respect.